Welcome to episode 5 of Wasted Wanderers. I mean, we are halfway through to 10, so that's a good thing. We still don't have too many viewers or subscribers, so that's not such a good thing. So please spread the news. We have gotten into a rhythm, we have gotten into a consistency now that we are always excited to bring you guys something every week. And by some luck and then by some disciplined research, we are able to find good enough topics every week to talk about. So yeah, please spread the word. Please continue to give us some support so that we can continue doing the good work for you guys. If you're in Canada, then happy Family Day to everyone. Hopefully everyone had a great Valentine's Day long weekend. And then yeah, if you're in the US, hope you're enjoying the President's Day. I don't know if all the states give that holiday or not, but anyway, happy President's Day to everyone. And JD, go for it.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, and happy holidays to, I guess, the whole of North America. Yeah, it's President's Day today. It used to be called Columbus Day, but now it's President's Day, so I don't know what happened there. But yeah, nice to see you all. Thank you for tuning in. And Abhijit, I see you're all relaxed from your nice long vacation, some excursion you took. So good to hear about that. Yeah, let's can't wait to get started. What topics do we have today?
I don't know about long vacation. It was go one day, come back the next. Like literally, we were driving for like half the amount of time that we were away. Definitely worth it. Wine country of BC. Definitely worth a visit to anyone who likes wines. We ended up at a mead winery in Kelowna, so that was. It's always a. I like mead. Like it's not as bitter as grape based wines, and then you can do a lot more with mixing it with fruity juices and all that kind of stuff, so it makes it sweeter. You can make it more tart, and you can have a much wider flavor selection when it comes to mead. At least that's what I have seen in the two mead wineries that I've been to. So this was definitely worth it. So, anyways, guys, let's start with topic one. So, today I want to start us off with a video clip. This is slightly old, but let's watch the first 2 minutes and then we'll kind of go over all the other stuff related to this one so that it'll make it clear uh, on where we kind of stand when it comes to Indian AI. Let's go.
So, Ashwini, incredible talent base, fastest growing major economy in the world, an AI player, but clearly in the second grouping that Kristalina is talking about, have to think about alignments with the United States or China to a degree, but how much do you have to think about that as a country like India? How much can you chart your own course irrespective of what the Americans and Chinese are doing?
Actually, clearly in the first group, and the reason for that is there are 5 layers in the AI architecture: the application layer, the model layer, the chip layer, the infra layer, and the energy layer. We are working on all the 5 layers, making very good progress in all the 5 layers. On the application layer, we will probably be the biggest supplier of services to the world. Go to an enterprise, understand the business of enterprise, understand the working of that enterprise, and provide that service using AI applications. That's going to be the biggest factor of success or successful deployment of AI, because that's where ROI comes from. ROI doesn't come from creating a very large model. 95% of the work can happen with models which are 20 billion or 50 billion parameters. We are creating a bouquet of such models. We already have a bouquet of such models which are now being deployed in multiple sectors to increase the productivity, to increase the efficiency, to increase the effective use of technology. So our focus is very much on making sure that AI diffusion happens in a very big way. And I don't know what the IMF criteria has been, but Stanford places India as third in terms of AI penetration, in terms of AI preparedness. AI talent, it is number 2. So I don't think your classification in the second bouquet is right. It's actually in the first.
So I want to now take us to what brought us to start looking at this, right? So India is doing this AI summit, and the price of one hotel room, or maybe it's just one off, right? But it looks like some hotel rooms in Delhi are going for $33 a night. You know, this is like a number where it doesn't matter if it's Canadian dollars or US dollars, it's still a lot. I don't think at this point we are going to split those hairs, right? I have no idea if they meant USD or CAD, because this is a Canadian source. So I would, but it's also in their world section. So I have no way of knowing. But typically when they use dollars, then I would say it's USD. Typically with Canadian dollar, they'll put a CAD. So I personally feel very proud when I see something like this that comes out of a, on a platform like World Economic Forum, because yeah, I want to see India progress in the AI race. I want to see India become a big player in this space. To the extent that I've been following the AI news, I've actually never seen such an articulate leader speak about such details on AI, on a topic like AI. Now, Ashwini Vaishnav, he's a cabinet level minister, right? Typically at that level, the leaders don't have the know-how of the nitty-gritty of things. But clearly this person does. Where India's AI boom ends up, Indians will decide that for themselves. And by that I mean, like, Indians who live in India, Indians who hold Indian passports, and Indians living all over the world. They'll decide where this race ends up. The lesson for the West is that, one thing is you can't take India lightly anymore, and we are seeing that play out in different formats all over the world, like the EU trade deal, the US trade deal, blah blah blah, a bunch of mother of trade deals, father of trade deals, grandparents of trade deals. All of these have happened. But there is also a rung of leadership that is able to respond with a lot of with quick feet, right? Like, it's not like, oh, you are in grouping 2, and and then we'll try to extend that. Oh yes, we agree, we are in grouping 2, maybe we are grouping 1.5. No, we are grouping 1, and here is why you're wrong about your analysis. So go put it in your pocket and leave, right? But again, so this is all good when we hear it. There is also like a dark side that we're seeing of AI not producing as many benefits as expected. I think OpenAI is burning through $9 billion a year or something, and there's no end in sight. Recently, there was a study by MIT which says that the ROI on AI is just not there in 95% of the use cases. So please go check out Cold Fusion's video on that. It's pretty well done, I feel. But yeah, just on some more happy news on India. A cutout of an AI robot displayed at last year's Automation Expo in Mumbai. To understand the future of AI, businesses should look not just to boardrooms, but crowded, multilingual, entrepreneurial spaces of the global south. New Delhi's AI Summit will reflect that energy and innovation and governance models. Now, the truth of AI is the more data you give it, the better it gets. And data is generated by people. So the more people you have, the more data it will generate. You'll have more data-based entropy, information entropy, so that the AI can be fed. So ultimately, I've always maintained one sort of principle that Google, among the Mag 7, Google is designed to win the AI race. And as a corollary to that, I'll also say that if Asian countries play their cards right, they can easily win this one. Simply because they have people. They have people who are generating data. A lot of that data may be nonsense, but some of that data will be good enough to then be fed into, or you can sanitize it or do whatever you need to do with it, and then you know push it into a model and it gets trained. The people advantage will be there for the next 4 or 5 decades to come. So yeah, long story short, the West will have some catching up to do. So JD, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this is interesting. Um, I like the framing of this. India's AI moment has arrived because, as you said, like all the ingredients are there for India. It has a young population, it has a young active population on social media generating a lot of data. It has a good ecosystem of um, tech tech industry, right? So unlike China, where China favors homegrown um, companies that just copies whatever the West is doing, India actually invites them. So that's why you have good
Google,
ecosystem
Microsoft,
of all these are
tech.
there tech industry, right? So oh yeah, sorry, I got cut off there. But that's the thing, like India is poised for this. So that's why you see like all the bigwig companies are coming to this AI summit. Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. So I saw somewhere like Jensen from Nvidia was supposed to come, but he cancelled for some reason. But all the bigwigs are coming, right? So I think, yeah, India is poised to do good here. They just had need to capitalize it, which this minister is doing. So that is pretty cool. Um, yeah, like for that headline, like 33K for a hotel room. Yeah, I think that's probably who knows, man. Like it could be like just one presidential suite in some Taj hotel. So, but it does speak to a broader trend because the yeah, New Delhi, if you look at it, does not have a lot of hotel rooms in general. It's not built around uh, expositions and conferences, you know, like Mumbai is. So there are less hotel rooms. And you got to share it with other events. If a head of a state is coming, things like that, they all come to New Delhi, right? So you have to kind of uh, uh, account for that. But yeah, it's good to see that India is doing a lot of trade deals. They did with Europe. I think they're finalizing something with US. So yeah, they're all over the place. So Modi is definitely uh, capitalizing on this. Um, and even like the AI companies, the big ones, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they also know how important India market is. Uh, as you mentioned, Abhijit, like just population wise, people who have access to these services, it's a huge market. And I won't be surprised if it overtakes all other markets just because of the sheer size. And I've heard like from my cousins living in India, like uh, OpenAI and Anthropic, they have like 1 year free subscriptions for all Indians. They're trying to capitalize, trying to get their product in as many hands as possible, because like they're going public this year, from what I've heard. um, OpenAI is now $800 billion
I feel
startup.
cheated, dude. Here I have to bloody generate a thumbnail thrice, and then OpenAI is like, okay, can you pay me more money? And everyone gets 1 year free in India. What the hell? to
I know. It's not fair.
cheat. Yeah.
They're making money from us and yeah, like subsidizing others. And it's hurtful for us because we are Indians, right? So,
Yeah, we should get that benefit, I guess. I guess you win
yeah.
some, you lose some. Like you make your choices in life, and now we
Yeah.
just
But
have to pay through our nose for bloody Chat
I
GPT and
know
everything.
we get the short
God,
end of the stick. But yeah,
exactly.
last point I want to make is what you said, right? Like Google is like the big stack bully in all this because yes, OpenAI is worth 800 billion, Anthropic is worth probably 400 billion, right? But they're making no money. Whereas Google makes $200 billion in revenue, which is crazy, right? They can just
Yeah.
pipe all that into over here. They don't need to do, deals with other companies to get infrastructure or energy. They can just do it by themselves. So they have an unfair advantage for sure. Yeah.
And one last point I want to pull out about India's AI approach. This can be a double-edged sword, right? Why India's digital public infrastructure will democratize AI usage. So the idea is India is literally the government of India is building publicly available models for everyone to use. Trained in India, data sourced from Indian sources. Yeah, so look at this, right? Where Silicon Valley concentrates AI capabilities in private hands, India is building modular, interoperable systems that expand access. India AI Kosh platform has already onboarded 5,722 datasets and 251 AI models from 54 entities across 20 sectors. So we see a lot of private investment talk here in North America, maybe even in Europe. But this is the first model where we are seeing the government is actually building AI models for usage by citizens. Now, India is also a country that sees a lot of unrest from time to time in some form or the other. Like right now, UGC, before that was farm laws, and then Delhi riots and Shaheen Bagh. I don't want to go like that's. This is just like literally past 5 years, past 5 6 years. So I don't know what the government has thought around protecting the usage of these models to generate a lot of rubbish, which they will be used for, right? Like Indian in the Indian circles, it's always like AI should be scared of India, and then there is like um, a figurine of PM Modi, like a caricature of PM Modi singing like the latest Bollywood movie song, and he is falling head over heels in love with Giorgia Meloni of Italy and all that nonsense, and it's literally AI should be scared of India in that sense. I just don't know how they are gonna balance misuse versus good use, and then how the law will protect the people from using it, and the government just doesn't come and shuts down your platform, right? There's this on the surface it looks very nice that okay, there's a digital public infrastructure, there is an AI infrastructure as a part of that. But do I really, I mean, now to the extent that the government then holds the keys to all these AI models, when can they lock it versus when can they open it? That's also a big question, because you have a government that favors everything these days, that favors this whole AI boom. Tomorrow you may have a different government that may want to not favor it, right? Like in Mumbai, the biggest reason the Mumbai subway got so delayed is the government changed. So now the new government came in, said, okay, now you got to bribe us so that we can now then, sorry, not, well, subway and the bullet train. Like both of these got stalled for years just because there was another government. You have to bribe them now so that then you can start building that infrastructure. Now then the government changes again, and then it can start being built more quickly again. I'm not taking any sides here, But what I'm saying is, this is the government providing you a service is always a double-edged sword in some form or the other. If the government is giving you socialized healthcare, well, how much can they give you till they run out of money? Same thing with AI, right? Same thing with any sort of digital public infrastructure. Do I think it's a model worth following for any other country? I don't know. It's one model. Perhaps India itself is like, I guess, most populated by people. So in terms of usage as well, it's very high. Like I think what 300, 400 million users of AI, and actively using social media and everything. So I think 800 million social media users. So there's definitely the market. And if you can roll something like this out in such a massive market, then smaller countries can easily follow suit. Should they or should they not? I think only time will tell at this point. Okay, guys, so let's get to the next one for the day. JD, lead with this one.
Sure. So yeah, this is an interesting story. Like it basically talks about how all automakers torched $53 billion on making EVs that they'll never sell. So that's how this is structured. Um, so this is insane because what the story is after COVID or during COVID, uh, or even a little bit before COVID, there was this company you might have heard of, Tesla, that was doing really good. Like it was growing 100% year on year. And then the other automakers, they thought like, oh, like EV is going to replace all the cars in the world by 2030. That was the idea. So why not we start to build EVs? And they did. Like they signed these $1 billion battery deals, factory deals all across the world, mostly in North America. And yeah, they started building EV cars. But even though the market was good for a while, I think around 2022, 2023, I think the market got saturated. So people don't want to buy EVs, uh, and we can talk about like the pros and cons of owning a EV and all that, but they hit like the top of the market, and now they're not selling at all. The EV cars, the depreciation value is really bad. Like it's a total write down for anybody who buys an EV. And yeah, like even Tesla, they are not selling well. So one of the funny things I found about this was, if you scroll up down a little bit to the chart, if you look at the most valuable auto manufacturers, the top one is the Tesla, right? Which is not doing good, right? So you can imagine how the rest are doing, even though I think Toyota is doing okay, because Toyota is one of the rare companies that didn't go in all in on EVs. We can talk about that. And yeah, we can also talk about like why Tesla is crazily has a crazy valuation. But yeah, like that's like the TLDR of the story. Like I would love to hear your thoughts, Abhijit.
So my thing is, one thing, this chart is what can be summarized as market-led rubbish, right? Tesla, in no imaginable terms, is more valuable than Toyota. If anyone has ever read Security Analysis, in the preface of that book, sixth edition, Benjamin Graham says that they were analyzing GM, General Motors, in the, I think in maybe 30s 40s, that era. So they're looking at some charts, right? So 1 year the value of GM is something, and then the next year it just drops by half. So he writes that this is just blasphemy to the English language. Like, it's not possible. There is no way that Toyota's intrinsic value is less than that of Tesla. Bullshit. This is just a market valuation hyped up by a story that Tesla itself is going to abandon pretty soon. At least that's what it looks like, because they are literally just taking all this data generated by the cars and putting it into robots. The only level-headed manufacturer, again by this chart, Toyota, they will continue to make and sell cars, right? I'm surprised Honda is not on this, but okay, or maybe it is and I just can't see it. But I think in the economical car sector, especially when you look at North American ones, like, the ones that are popular in North America, there are only three that really hold their value. They don't depreciate so easily. That's Honda, that's Toyota, maybe Ford's, and then maybe Mazda. I think these are the 3 to 4 brands that actually hold their value really well. And in the luxury sector, I think Porsche holds their values. All the other cars depreciate because they're just not built as resiliently as these ones are, right? So the fact that they depreciate itself is not like a cause of alarm for me when I think about Teslas or other EVs. The other thing is, to what extent did the EVs actually catch on? Most states in the US and all across Canada, there is a subsidy offered, right? In Canada, it was 5,000, then they took it back. Then they had a ridiculous thing that, okay, we'll have 50% EVs by 2030, and then I think 100% by 2050. And then PM Carney's government came and said, no, screw all that. But now they got back those $5,000 incentives to buy EVs. I did a dedicated live on Narad News, so guys, go check that out as well. But basically, EVs only caught on because of this subsidy, because of free money. Now that everyone's just inclined to take that away, they cannot hold their attractiveness because a car enthusiast doesn't want to buy an EV. There's no engine noise, there's nothing to look forward to. There is great acceleration, but that great acceleration comes at a cost of all the other quote unquote things that make an ICE car cool. The second thing is, most EVs feel cheap. And I'm going to say that again, most EVs feel cheap. I've seen a lot of them. I've been to a whole bloody auto show in LA, which was just dedicated to EVs. Yeah, the Lucids are nice, but way out of my pocket range. So I'm not even going to look there. But the rest of them, they just feel bloody cheap. No one wants to buy them. I'm not saying they're not safety tested. I'm not going into what the technicalities are. They are sound in a technical sense. They just feel cheap. And I think we are now seeing that come out in the open. Third thing is, I think there is now enough awareness that they don't help the environment in any way. There is too much. Well, firstly, you have to dig out a lot of different metals, a lot of wastage into actually making those batteries. And then the batteries themselves are so toxic that their disposal itself causes harm to the environment. So in the long run, where the ICEs are getting more and more efficient, it's not necessarily that EVs are going to be more sustainable and environment friendly compared to at least ICEs. If someone wants to actually go into or buy a car that actually helps the environment, then go get a hydrogen fuel cell. The byproduct is water, right? I personally think that for the sustainable conscious or sustainability conscious buyers, hydrogen fuel cell will become something more attractive. I also think the infrastructure just hasn't kept up. The EV infrastructure, the charging, there is so much proprietary, stuff that okay, there are EV chargers, but the fast ones only for this model versus that model. This whole industry has not been able to reach standardization that you see on gas stations with gas nozzles. That's that's my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I want to add is it is true that I think it's also the subsidies that was sustaining this market, because as soon as the subsidies disappeared, which was last year, I think September, uh, then yeah, all this stopped. And you can see the Toyota did the right thing. Um, they stuck with building hybrids, and then the hybrid prices have been going up, and the EV prices have been going down. So why is there such depreciation? I think it is true. It is mainly the battery. Uh, when you buy a EV vehicle, like, you get maybe like 300 miles of range, right? Now, after 3 years, 5 years, when you go and sell it, uh, that range is down because it's a battery, right? So you'll probably get like 250 miles on it. Plus, the technology is also down, and like, some new EV has come out, and then it's not a good asset for anybody to buy. Another interesting thing I saw was, uh, if you see, like, the 10th company is Suzuki India, which was really surprising. Like, we don't have Honda, but we have Suzuki. So that was a very interesting thing.
And I'm not surprised. Suzuki is huge in India too. I think now they don't even have to sell it as Maruti Suzuki. They just sell it as Suzuki. So they just have such a huge foothold in the Indian market that um, yeah, if they start coming out with like a luxury brand of Suzuki, people will probably buy it. Anyways, guys, let's get to the next one. This is good old Canadian topics. So, why some Canadian companies are turning their workers into owners instead of selling to the US? So, JD, you found this one. So, tell me more about it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was also curious, like, why does this story framed this way? So basically, what's happening is you have these well-run Canadian companies, and the it's owned by a family or owned by some entrepreneur, and they get old. So what are their options? So till recently, they had two options: either like some other multinational companies comes and buys it, or like some private equity firm, they come and buy it. So private equities are very interested in these companies that are well run, been running for 20, 30 years. And it's a good investment from them. They take over, they do all the management stuff, and then yeah, it adds to their bottom line. But both of these choices result in uh, the companies actually registering in the US, because most of the multinationals and private equity firms are US based, right? So the government of Canada, they came out with this new type of company holding. It's called Employee Ownership Trust, EOT. So this was recently launched in 2024. So this kind of gives a way out to these Canadian entrepreneurs who want to stay in Canada and not get influenced by the US, because US is again like the 800-pound gorilla sitting in the south, and they basically can absorb any company, well run or not, from Canada, right? So yeah, they gave an example of this startup or company called Bright Spot Climate. So I think it does something in the climate tech area. And yeah, the founder basically was like, oh, this is what we did. Now it's a employee-owned benefit company, and it's working great for us. And one thing I want to add here is that this is a recent thing in Canada, but in the US, this has existed for a while. So US has um, way of doing this. So it's called employee ownership trust. So that's kind of the equivalent to what is in Canada. And actually, like, I mean, yeah, we can talk about like the financial market and entrepreneurship difference between US and Canada also. But it's good to see, like, government is doing something good for the entrepreneurs. Abhijit, your thoughts?
I'm glad to see such initiatives are coming out. Um, this article clearly says, right, that the owner will typically have to settle for a smaller valuation if they try to make their companies owners. But if they try to make their employees as owners of the company, right? So to the extent that the owner of the company is willing to do that, they are serious about running their business as a business owner, I think this is a good model. If someone just wants like a bumper exit and then enjoy their millions, probably not. They won't be getting into something like this. I think this article is also mentioning that there's a deadline that's running out, time running out. So an EOT is a trust that holds the trust finances. Without a tax incentive, the future of EOTs is uncertain. So there's a tax incentive for adopting to this model, and the time that there's a hard cutoff deadline for that. Now, I'm not sure why the government is saying that they're not going to keep that tax incentive there. I do see that this is more of a step back than a step forward. The only issue is I don't know what the data says on how often such an option is actually looked at by the companies. It could be that since not enough people are willing to use it, they're just saying, okay, fine, we're not going to do it. But let's see if there is a temporary tax incentive. EOTs have existed in the UK. They have many advantages, but also some challenges. The federal government introduced a $10 million capital gains tax exemption to make EOTs more financially appealing for an owner who has typically spent many years building the business. The tax incentive is a nice kicker and definitely gets them interested and gets them looking at it more in depth. Then I'm not sure why they want to not continue it. The more I looked into the structure and opportunity, I know this is what I've been looking for. Staff had many questions whether their pay would be reduced until the co-founder was fully paid out from the sale. In response, the company trust paid an early distribution. Okay. Let's see what are the challenges they're listing to actually keep it local. Yeah, and employee ownership is not necessarily for everyone. Experts say as some entrepreneurs may struggle to give up control of a company they built, while decision making may slow down with the board of directors in charge. There have been some bumps in the road, but so far Schroeder, who's the founder of Brightspot, is happy. Entrepreneurial spirit is starting. I think overall, if this is yielding positive morals across the country, especially when jobs are becoming more and more scarce, I think this tax incentive should be kept rather than removed. I mean, I'm almost wondering, did they decide to end this and bring back that dumb EV incentive? I don't know, man. Like, why would you? This Canada's obsession with all this fluffy topics, I don't know when it'll go away, right? Like here is something that can actually help keep businesses in Canada flourish here. I think the other problem is obvious, that Canada's market size, I mean, a lot of companies just outgrow it, and then where is the best place to look for more consumers? Okay, south of the border, right? But that's something that you cannot control, but to the extent that the company can be kept as incorporated in Canada and not sold off, not just to a US private buyer, right? I'm just talking about any private buyer from outside Canada. To the extent you can maybe offer good enough incentives at home, why would you want to take it away? I would say you should in fact incentivize businesses to try and make them owner owned, so that at least, yeah, Canada needs more entrepreneurship. I don't understand what the logic is to taking this incentive away. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I think the fallacy I think a lot of Canadian, I guess, bureaucrats and leaders have is they have a feel or need to compete with the US, which is not correct. Like US obviously has a better financial system, has a better entrepreneurial system built around, right, and private, not government backed, right? So you it's hard to compete that. I would say like Canada should more focus on the areas of entrepreneurship that it is good at, always feel like, health tech, for example, because it's so expensive in the US, why don't we have more startups in Canada? Because it would be on paper cheaper, right? Something like that. Like uh, a good example is Shopify. Like Shopify could have moved from Toronto to Silicon Valley or anywhere in the world, right? But the founders were intentional in keeping it in Canada. So it is possible. And they do it without this public
Without the
benefit.
noise. Yeah.
Yeah, without the noise and this public benefit trust thing, right? So in the end, I feel if a founder has a good vision and if they're a true entrepreneur, they will find a way or they will find a fit in Canada. I i personally feel like government should not subsidize entrepreneurship. Yeah, they can help it, but again, same as EV, like what will happen once they remove this, like companies will be like, might as well sell it to some private equity again. So they'll just take advantage of this tax benefit but not do anything for Canada. So that's what I'm worried about.
I mean, another company, right, that comes to mind. Shopify is like the big one in the room, but there's always BlackBerry Limited. It started as Research in Motion, and at one point it was the smartphone company. I mean, I guess smartphones before smartphones. So it still exists. It's still headquartered in Waterloo, Ontario. So you can keep good companies here. You have to be a little more intentional. You can always do business in the US or elsewhere. No one is stopping you from doing that. Um, I also feel the US ecosystem got where it got because, at least initially, there were incentives given by state government saying, okay, set up your shop here, tax free for these many years, etc., etc. So maybe the government should be looking at that, but uh, oh God. Then I always have to think about who's going to pay for the socialized healthcare. So
That's
I don't
another
want to
topic.
open that box. Like, just, oh shit. Forget it.
We all know who's paying for it.
Forget it. Okay, guys, let's go to the last one. This will be a quick coverage because we'll probably have to wait a little bit longer for, looking at CUSMA negotiations in full force. But basically, Mark Carney has named Janice Shah. This is a typo. It's actually Charette, not Charlotte. So she will be the top trade negotiator from Canada when it comes to the CUSMA or NAFTA, whatever you want to call it. Um, so this is the official uh, post from the Canadian government on who Janice Charette is. She will be senior advisor to the PM and the minister responsible for Canada-US trade, Dominic LeBlanc, on the upcoming Canada-US CUSMA trade review. extends his deep gratitude. My only thing is that Janice Charette, she has held a lot of government positions, right? Bureaucracy, with 4 decades of experience in public policy and diplomacy, Janice Charette brings extraordinary leadership expertise and a deep commitment to advancing Canada's interests. As chief trade negotiator, she will advance Canadian interests and a strengthened trade and investment relationship that benefits workers and industries in both Canada and the US. So this is, yeah, the thing is, like, dealing or having any negotiation with the US these days is, it basically boils down to four or five very important people. We all know what those names are, so I'm not going to bother taking them. But this is a good thing and a bad thing. You basically have to impress, you just basically have to make 5 people happy and everything else will just flow through, right? Now for an economy which is 2 trillion in size and just sits right north of the border and literally has a population that lives within 200 kilometers of that border, I think Canada has held up quite well to all the tariff pressures. The CUSMA deal is the elephant in the room on which Canada's sort of foreseeable trade future will rely, in the sense that 75% still goes south of the border and 85% of all the goods that are tariffed by the US are actually protected under CUSMA as it stands right now. So we don't actually feel the tariffs as much. Having said that, Canada I think still registered a little bit of a contraction in the last quarter of 2025. So within that context, Janice Charette's job is nothing short of insanely difficult. I don't know enough about her yet to be able to reach a conclusion on, whether she has it in her to pull this off. I think over the past 6 months, Canada has done some things to try and get more leverage. So one of the examples of that would be, let me show that. This is like the last exhibit for the day, but let me pull that up. Right?
Are you
So this
talking
is,
about?
yeah, so this is Anita Anand meeting up with S. Jaishankar of India, right? I think they have already met a couple of times. PM Carney is supposed to go to India at the end of the month and sell India a bunch of uranium, essentially. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval came and met the Canadian equivalent as well, and we all know what they probably discussed. So So Canada
Security.
is taking some steps to try and gain more leverage. I just don't think it's happening fast enough. Or if it's happening fast enough, it's so well shrouded that there is literally no news about it, right? So everyone thinks that the India US deal happened because India signed a deal with Europe. That's bullshit. That deal was already done. It was pretty much in finalization stages as the talks with the Europe deals were also going on. So these deals get signed and these deals get agreed upon way before it makes it into the news cycle, right? So it's possible that Canada has already done something with India. And it's not that the US doesn't know about it. Bloody hell, they know about it if it's already been done. I think I'll do probably a bigger deep dive into what Janice Charette's sort of credentials are going into this and how well suited she might be for this. Yeah, but at this point, it's so difficult to even fathom what this would feel like, in the sense that, okay, if not Janice Charette, then who?
Well, I
Kevin
mean,
O'Leary? Like, I don't know. Like that's our best bet, right? Like, send a shark from the Shark Tank. Like,
But he's I mean not that Canada friendly also, right? He's basically a US citizen now, so
Exactly. So I mean, I don't see. I don't think he has officially taken up U.S. citizenship or anything, but he's lived there so long that it's okay. And for him, I don't know if he's not Canadian or not. I'm not. I don't know much about those things, about what his true leanings are or whatever. He's still, to my knowledge, he holds, I think, a Canadian passport and then a UAE passport. I don't know how he got that, but I could be wrong on that. But I think he has that, and then I don't know if he still holds his Irish one or not. But you know, it's this is a space where all options are equally good and bad, right? They have their job cut out for them. Now, we are seeing a lot of positive steps being taken by the Carney administration. So, just going by this administration's data alone, I would say that okay, they have thought this as well as they possibly could, right? Let's see. Time will tell. JD, what do you want to? You have
yeah, I would say, yeah, I have a little different take on it because I have been pretty happy with the Carney administration till now because they had projected themselves as not being the Trudeau government, right? They've been a little more center, a little more reaching out to the conservative side, right? But again, now I think like they're showing their liberal colors because now they have a, a chief negotiator who's a lifelong bureaucrat, right? And they're going to go up against um, uh,
hardcore businessman,
hardcore
essentially.
business side from the US, right? It's
Yeah.
like who Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump. I mean, these are tough negotiators, right? With basically all the chips on their side, right? Canada has
Yeah.
what? Nothing. And till now, as you mentioned, Canada has been able to write this because most of the trade is done under the NAFTA
Yeah.
agreement, right? So what if they, pull out of NAFTA? What if they do
What if
more
they let it
damage?
expire? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really bad. So yes, I think we should have someone like Kevin O'Leary or some business person, even like who's the mayor of Toronto, uh,
Who is the mayor of
Doug,
Toronto?
right?
Oh, Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford.
Doug Ford, yeah, he's a businessman. He's a tough negotiator. Why not send him? Like, send someone who doesn't, gives the vibes of Kamala Harris, is what I'm saying. Like, this is going to be a big, big deal in 2026, right? So, I mean, it's big for Canada. So I hope they play their cards right. I mean, anyways, Canada should diversify. They have two oceans on each side of their country. We've talked about this before, right? They should not be just supplying 75%, 80% of goods to the US. That's just not good. If you put all your money in Nvidia stock, yes, it'll go up,
Then
but
it'll also go down.
it'll also go down, right? That's why you diversify.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish the government good luck, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not too optimistic.
Yeah, I would have liked to see. We don't know the whole panel. Maybe we can do some digging on that. Like, who's the whole panel who'll be negotiating? Would love to see some, you know, some business people on this. Like, or maybe some business oriented politicians, right? Like, why not Danielle Smith, premier of Alberta, and Doug Ford? Doug Ford won't be bad. He has been able to win his province again and again as a conservative under a liberal government. He has been able to. He was the only one who played those controversial Super Bowl ads. Like, he knows how to do. He knows how to throw money at a problem to try and solve it. It didn't solve much, but he at least had he had the kahunas to
Yep,
actually
yep.
do something like that,
He tried something.
right? He
Yeah.
actually also, Premier Ford also put a outgoing tariff on all electricity to US states when all these, that was another shenanigan he tried to play, right? Okay, you lose these battles because the US just, yeah, it's 15 times bigger at this point, maybe 14 to 15 times larger when it comes to an economy, 20 times in fact almost. But the idea is you need more sort of business hefty people rather than, well, diplomats and bureaucrats, because, or the other way you could approach this is, okay, do you have a runway like India did, like just sit for 8 months, fine, do what you want, okay, 50% tariff, we'll take it, fine, you want to bring it down to 18%, we'll take it, but there are some hard lines that we are not going to stop on. And when it comes to oil, it'll just be about the price. Canada doesn't have to worry about the oil. The only problem is Canada cannot refine it just because, another can of worms. Anyway, anyways, guys, so that brings us to the end of our show for the day. And if this thing decides to cooperate, I'll be able to change my scene, but just when I needed that one, right? So, hope you have a great rest of the long weekend. If you're here in North America, only a few hours left. Enjoy your time, guys. If you're in India, hopefully you're looking forward to your next work week. So, yeah, have a great rest of the week, everyone. See you guys next week with more packed stories, and take care. JD, closing words.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I saw some more people join today. So thank you so much for the support. And yeah, see you guys next time. Enjoy.
Thank you, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.